Hey guys, Dr. Alex here. So in this video we're going to be talking about knee pain. Specifically we're going to be talking about being on the trainer, but the principles are going to be applicable to whenever you are on the bike, especially if you're in a bike in which you are clipped in. So in most cases of knee pain on the bike, it can be directly related to your fit. There are a couple other factors and some things that you can do at home to potentially have an effect to treat your knee pain yourself, and it rarely reflects a problem elsewhere in the body. In most cases, if you have knee pain with cycling, it's something that has to do with your setup. As a basic rule, if you get pain at the back of the leg, at the back of the knee, the setup problem is likely that the seat is too high. Try lowering it 5 millimeters. See if it helps, then lower it another 5, see if it helps, and keep going until you get down a couple of centimeters and see if that has an effect. On the other hand, if you get pain in the front of the knee, odds are that your seat is likely too low. This is not always the case, but in general, if the seat is too low, often too much of a contraction on the quad, pushing the kneecap or the patella down into the knee joint might bring on some irritation, some pain. Raise the seat up using the same principle we just talked about. Pain on the inside and the outside of the knee, that's less easy to diagnose as to what the actual problem is. If you're getting pain on the inside or the outside of the knee, or in general, I really recommend seeing your local fit specialist. Spending money and making the investment is not only going to help you have a more enjoyable and fun time riding because you're going to be more comfortable, it's also going to allow you to be on the bike more because you can do longer, more comfortable rides, and you won't get injured. Now, that being said, there are some problems with the body itself that might be the actual core problem contributing to some knee issues. It could be too much tightness on the outside of the leg through the glutes and the IT band, or there could be some sort of issue with the adductors and the groin muscles, or some sort of muscular imbalance that's causing some of those issues. So in the next part of the video, I'm going to give some suggestions for some things you can do at home that might help you get rid of your knee pain, or at least limit it until you can get that fit assessed and get your bike set up perfect like Penelope here. Okay guys, so let's talk about when you get knee pain on the bike. Of course, an assessment that assesses why you're getting it, what the underlying cause might be, and a good fit is going to give you a specific approach to dealing with it. I'm going to give you one based on my experience that I think should help for 80% of cases. If you're getting the knee pain on the outside of the knee, what I would try to do is to strengthen the outside of the hip and loosen up the muscles on the outside of the hip. Why? Because in my experience, when those muscles are weak and or too tight on the outside of the hip, they will cause a compression of the IT or the iliotibial band against the side of the leg that will put a little bit more pressure on the outside of the leg and or the outside of the kneecap and might bring on some repetitive strain. So let's go over a couple of drills that you can do to stretch and strengthen the outside of the leg and the hip for outer knee pain with cycling. Okay, so for stretching the outside of the hip and some of the muscles that might contribute to some tightness or tension in the IT band, we're going to go through 3 drills. The first drill is going to be a stretch to stretch the gluteus minimus and medius on the outside of the hip. In this drill, what we do is we stick our hip out to the side and form a big C through the side of our body, taking nice big breaths in and out and deepening the stretch there. If you're having trouble with balance, what you can do is stick this foot out. It's purely just for balance, and it allows you to deepen the stretch there through the side. You'll notice with this stretch, it's almost like I'm standing between 2 walls and I'm moving straight to the side and then reaching over and sticking my hip out. You can almost think like you're Elvis Presley sticking the hips back and forth. Now, a modification to this drill that you might like, down on the floor on the knees, stick the hip out this way, leaning over to the side. You might find that this actually brings on a deeper stretch for you because you don't have to worry as much about your balance. That's something worth trying. And with this drill, you can either do little mobilizations, or you can hold it for 30 to 60 seconds. The next drill that we want to do is we want to stretch the gluteus maximus and the piriformis muscles on the outside of the hip. My favorite way to stretch the piriformis and gluteus maximus on the outside of the hip is a modified pigeon pose, and for this you'll need some sort of chair, placing the outside of the leg just in front of you here, close to 90 degrees, and then we can either squat down or lean forward. From this angle, you can either lean forward or squat down, and you'll get a nice stretch here through the side. This is a good drill because if you are like me, you probably cannot get into a yoga type pigeon pose on the floor, and this is going to allow you to be a little bit more specific with what part of those muscles you want to stretch and a little bit more comfortable. So those are some of the important stretches that you should be doing if you're getting outer knee pain or pain over the kneecap when you're on the bike. In addition to that, if you really want to make sure you cover all the bases and you're not quite sure if glute weakness is contributing, then you should also work on your glutes. The 3 best exercises to target your glutes that you can do at home are a side bridge with some modifications, a glute bridge, again with some modifications as you get better, and also a bird dog. If your problem is pain more towards the inside of the patella or the kneecap or right on the side of the knee, then we've got a couple of stretches that you should be doing coming up next. These stretches are going to focus on the adductor or the groin muscles. In my experience, usually over tightness or the pull from these muscles acting on the knee joint is where we get a lot of repetitive strain. So if we try to loosen up these muscles, generally it has good success with resolving that knee pain as long as it's not a fit issue. So let's get into those. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over our first adductor stretch, and we're going to use a chair. You can use a dining room chair, something about this height. And what I like for this stretch is facing head on, in this case the camera, leg comes up, and we've got a couple of modifications here. One, we're going to have the toe pointing up to the ceiling. And in this one, if we squat down or if we bend forward, we're going to notice that it's targeting a lot of the hamstrings. You're also going to get some of the more posterior or the more backwards, if you will, adductor or groin muscles here through the mid of the thigh. Now, you should get a good stretch here, and after that stretch starts to dissipate, after you've spent 30 to 60 seconds down squatting or bending forward, what you can do is turn the toe in, and this is going to get more of the groin or the adductor muscles right here on the inside of the hip. Again, here we can either squat down, we can lean forward, or some sort of combination of the two where you want to feel this about the middle of the thigh. Now what you can do is you can play around with the foot angle to maximize that tension that you feel during the stretch. So in this case, I notice that at about 45 degrees, that's where I feel the most stretch, so that's where I'm going to target, because in this case, our goal is to take as much tension out of the inside of the leg as possible so it stops yanking on the inside of the knee, maybe throwing off the placement of the knee when we're on the bike. You also might have a lot of success with doing this stretch on the ground instead of the chair. Same idea applies. We're crouched down in kind of a squat, leg comes out, try not to fall over, toe either pointing up, and we can nice squat down or lean forward towards the floor, and then we can also work on pointing the toe in. Now, where you might get more benefit from being on the floor is you can really drop down low onto the other knee and get as real close to the ground as you can, and that's going to really maximize the stretch here. You can almost think of yourself as Spider-Man. You're down as low as you can on the ground here, and that's going to deepen the stretch. And in this position with my toe pointing forward and my body really leaning forward, I can actually get this stretch very close here to the inner groin, which is really, really nice to get that tension out of there as well. So what we're going to do next is a more dynamic stretch, and it is a leg swing. This one, I generally prefer to use the doorway, but in this case, just for help with the camera, I'm going to use a chair. And so with this, we're standing head on with the wall or the chair in this case. And again, we're working on stretching the inner side of the thigh here. So the important part for this swing is not the in part, but more the out. Trying to bring that foot as high as possible, keeping the toe pointed towards the wall or the chair or straight ahead. That's going to maximize that stretch in here. So we got nice support here on the wall or on the chair, and then the leg swings in, and then we really throw a little bit of force on bringing that leg on the out one. So with this stretch, or this, dynamic mobility drill, you can really feel it here on the inside. And if I try to point the toe up a little bit on the way out, rather than forward, I can again get some different muscle fibers in the groin. And that's just gonna make sure that if there is one of these many muscles on the inside of the thigh that's contributing to this inner knee issue or imbalance, that we're gonna target all of those muscles and not leave anything to chance. So everyone, that concludes our knee pain while cycling video. We talked about outer knee pain, we talked about inner knee pain, and we talked about the importance of a bike fit. If you've tried some of these stretches and exercises and they're not working, go get a bike fit. If you've been for a bike fit and you've done the exercises, that's where there's probably something wrong with the spine or nervous system or the knee, and where a comprehensive examination is going to be important to deduce what exactly the core problem is if it's not the fit. As always, hope it's helpful. Enjoy your rides this summer or winter, whenever you're watching it, and look forward to seeing you guys out on the road.